Hey, I hope you're doing well. My name's Jake. I'm a big fan of making music, and microphones are an indispensable part of my production process. Now, there are all sorts of microphones out there, from the dynamic mic that I'm speaking into right now, to large diaphragm condenser mics, to pencil mics, and the reality is that all of these mics have different features and best applications. So in this video, I'll show you my microphone collection, I'll give you some audio examples of each, and I'll give you some insight as to why I chose to buy these specific mics. Be sure to stick around till the end of the video if you want to hear which mic I would pick if I could only pick one mic. So there's no better place to start than the mic that I've been speaking into so far for the video. It's the Shure SM7B. Let me lift it up a sec. Now, it's a dynamic microphone, which means that it can handle a very high sound pressure level, so really loud things like a drum set or, metal vocals, a jet engine, and it's not going to distort, or at least it's least likely to distort out of all the microphones you could think to use. It doesn't require phantom power. Phantom power is basically just a way to provide power to a microphone from your audio interface, and that is not required for this mic. Now, generally, dynamic mics are pretty simple, but this one actually comes with some extra features. One of these is a high-pass filter at 200 hertz. That means it's going to cut off frequencies below 200 hertz. And then the other switch is for a high boost. You can just use a guitar pick to basically get in there and flip the switch. And so that gives you some, extra bells and whistles that you can use to sculpt the sound before it even gets into your computer. So yes, it's a dynamic mic, but overall it's a real workhorse of a microphone that can be used in both stage and studio applications. Let me get things rearranged here and I'll show you what this thing actually sounds like with an acoustic guitar and with some singing. It's some kind of game that everyone's playing and nobody's won. After all this time, I can't even claim that I figured it out. It's all just moments where things get done, and life's just flying by. That's probably why we're keeping track of time. It's some kind of game. Okay, so next, let's talk about this microphone here. It's my AKG C414XL. It's a large diaphragm condenser mic, which basically means that the eardrum inside the microphone is big. And so in that way, it's kind of similar to the SM7B, but that is where all similarities sort of end. Because the reality is large diaphragm condenser mics are going to be able to pick up a lot more detailed sound than what you would get out of any dynamic microphone, even the SM7B. Large diaphragm condensers are really great for vocals, especially softer vocals like an audiobook, maybe just softer genres of music. It's really great for acoustic guitar. It's great for cymbals. It's a fantastic room mic. These are the kinds of applications that I'm thinking about with a large diaphragm condenser. Now, the mic is fully loaded with features as well. So we have switches on the back here. Those control a high-pass filter that has multiple settings. So you could go 50 hertz or 80 hertz or 160 hertz. In some ways, it's similar to the SM7B because the SM7B also has a high-pass filter. But to be able to pick between different frequencies is definitely a nice feature for this mic. It also has a pad, which basically allows you to adjust, I believe, the input sensitivity of the microphone. Basically, allows you to compensate for really loud signal sources that might distort the microphone. That also has multiple steps, so again, very versatile in that regard. The front of the microphone also has some switches, and those actually adjust the polar pattern of the microphone. So typically a microphone is a cardioid pattern, meaning that it's going to pick up sound in the front, it's going to pick up some sound on the sides, but maybe not quite as much, and then it's going to reject sound from the back. But this one you can actually switch. So you can switch it so that it's picking up sound all over the microphone. You can switch it so that it's rejecting sound on the sides, picking up sound in the front and the back at the same time, and all sorts of options in between those. So it's a very versatile mic in that regard as well. 90% of the time, I'm going to use it in the typical cardioid pattern. However, when I need to use it as a figure 8 microphone, when I need to use it as an omnidirectional microphone, it's really nice to be able to flip a switch and have those features available. So same deal as the SM7B. I'll use the mic now to record some acoustic guitar and some vocals so that we can listen to some audio examples of that. It's some kind of game that everyone's playing and nobody's won. After all this time, I can't even claim that I figured it out. It's all just moments where things get done. And life's just flying by. That's probably why we're keeping track of time. It's some kind of game. Now the last microphone in my collection is the LA120 from Loughton Audio. It's a small diaphragm condenser microphone, and they're often called pencil mics. Great for certain applications, and then maybe not ideal for other applications. You can imagine that because the diaphragm is smaller, it's going to capture less low-end information, but it's going to do a really good job capturing higher frequencies. So it can be really good for things like violins. It can be good for acoustic guitars, and often I'll pair this microphone with a large diaphragm condenser for acoustic guitars and then pan one direction, pan one the other direction. Sounds really big, really, really cool sound. It's actually good for acoustic bass. I've seen producers use it on acoustic bass as well. I don't have an acoustic bass, so I've never actually tried that, but I'm eager to try it when I get the opportunity. Now, this mic also has some features on it, and that's kind of why I went with this specific pencil mic. It has a high-pass filter, which has two steps. I think it's 50 hertz and 150 hertz. Again, similar to the other two mics, it's just good to be able to high-pass when you're recording so that you can get rid of that low-end rumble. It also has a low-pass filter, and it's actually the only mic that I have that has a low-pass filter. That can be good to cut off high-frequency information if there's a lot of junk up in the very, very top of the frequency spectrum that I want to cut off for some reason. I honestly don't think I've ever used the low pass, but I'm sure there is a good example of when to use it. Actually, maybe an acoustic bass would be a really good example where you want to get some of the high mids, but you don't necessarily need everything above 15 kilohertz or something like that. So the low pass actually has two settings. You can choose to get rid of everything above 15K, or you can get rid of everything above 10K. And it just depends on, when you're going to use that, what application makes the most sense. So same as the other mics, I'll record some acoustic guitar, some vocals, and we can kind of take a listen to see how this mic compares to the others. It's some kind of game that everyone's playing and nobody's won. After all this time, I can't even claim that I figured it out. It's all just moments where things get done. And life's just flying by. That's probably why we're keeping track of time. It's some kind of game. So that's my mic collection as of right now, and if I had to pick just one mic to live with, I'd absolutely have to go with the SM7B. The reality is that it's going to work in almost every application. I'm going to get a good result, and I'm often going to get the best possible result. Now, an honorable mention would be a mic that I actually don't have. It's the RE20 by Electro Voice. It's very similar in that it's a dynamic mic, similar frequency response, about the same price. I haven't compared them side by side, but they're very similar, and it could be a really good option as well. Now, I'd love to hear from you, so please drop a comment below if this gave you any ideas for how you might start a mic collection. Maybe you already have a mic collection and you want to just tell us a little bit about that. I'd love to read about that in the comments below. Liking the video goes a long way. I know it seems like a small act, but it really does give me some feedback as to what kind of stuff you guys are into. And if you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what I'm doing, get subscribed and hit the bell. You'll be notified the next time I put a video out. Well, that's going to be it for this one. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, let's go make some music.